Now, let's move to our next speaker. Don Newberry has an extensive 34-year-old background in the offset and digital print industry. Throughout his career, Don has held various positions in charge of various printing and packaging firms. His production background including implementing new printing technologies while increasing production efficiency. He has worked with Komori USA for 16 years, holding various positions in management for demonstration, training, and product development. Don has been a speaker at various industry events and trade shows. In 2014, he joined -9 Technologies as marketing manager, and his company was then taken over by ICP Industrial. His current role is Senior Marketing Manager at ICP Industrial. Today, Don is going to tell us about how coatings can add value to our business. In a world where pretty much all printers are doing the same stuff, here is some gyan about how we can be different. Please give Don a warm welcome and as he joins us on stage for his 20-minute session. Thank you. Can we have the clicker, please?
Yes. And am I live?
And please put Don live on.
Can you hear me? Almost? A little better? Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Don Newberry. Did you guys have a great lunch? Beautiful surroundings, beautiful setting here. Just like the gentleman from Norway this morning, I came from -22. So a 50-degree swing. So I'm enjoying the weather. No snow, no cold. So thank you very much for letting me speak today. So printers have a challenge in everyday market. Okay, how do you make more margin? The panelists right before, they talked about increasing their margin, charging a higher value for the same product. Okay, so how do you do that? Well, printing companies will go through a manufacturing efficiency process. That should be ongoing all the time, looking and streamlining their processes, looking at their workforce and developing workforce, because the new developments in the workforce and the young people are going to create that innovation and that ongoing innovation. So you can hear part of the theme that's been discussed already. Looking at your equipment and modifying your equipment to move to, let's say, UV, or change to aqueous coatings. Purchasing new equipment, higher speeds, and you'll hear a little bit from KBA a little bit later, kind of a counterpart that we talked about earlier. And there's always a reduction of materials too. So if you can take high value materials, UV, and push them down to an aqueous, there's a price point for that. And one of the big keys is supplying new technology and working with your vendors. So today I'm here to talk a little bit more about increasing the value of print, helping your customers sell more of their product on the shelf. And how do you do that? You have to differentiate yourself. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about value-added coatings. How do you create a wow technique? Well, there's several techniques out there. Many have been employed. Since 2008 to 2010, the drip-off effect has come into play. It's widely used in India. Throughout my travels in India, I see that drip-off effect. There's also a drip-off effect that's called movement. Other companies have branded it as motion. But when you actually can see and highlight parts of the packaging or a product, it will really jump off the page. That gives a product a lift. That gets the consumer to pull out. Another technology, similar to the drip-off, it's actually using an oil-based system and UV in combination or an aqueous coating to create a smooth contrast. So you can highlight a product and mute the backgrounds. So I would invite you to see a little bit of this later on and really think creatively. And beyond just the visual, then get into tactiles. As you look at the different cosmetic companies, the liquor packaging, you'll see different features. And that's a little bit more. Again, looking at aqueous coatings. Also reducing coat weights. if you can save on your material without sacrificing the performance attributes, that's another way that you can cut back and use different coatings. So there's basically 5 different coating formulations out there: water-based, solvent-based, emulsion-based, electron beam, and radiation cure, UV, HUV, LED. All of those can be put down, whether they're in gravure or roller coating, rotary screen. All of these processes. A little bit louder? Sorry. But really we want to talk about specialty coatings. I'm here to talk about that and really looking at the differences. So let me go through a little bit of it. The difference in radiation cure and the newest technology out there is LED. And LED technologies, what's the difference? What's the difference between UV, HUV, and LED? Well, truly what it is simply the photo initiators that are built into the coatings. And each one of the photo initiators react at different nanometer levels. So it's pretty intriguing. So there's a bunch of chemistry behind the coatings, building in papers, right? Running the equipment using different inks, right? So partner with your suppliers to understand what you can do with coatings, with papers, okay? So I'm going to talk a little bit about applications. So all of these coatings can be done through roller coaters, which are on offset presses, flexo presses, offline coaters. Analyx coaters is the predominant on the offset side now. However, you can take the operations and put them offline too on rotary screens or flatbed screens. And if you're on the label world, you can do rotary screen on flexo presses. So these are some of the application techniques that you have available to you. But which coating is right? Well, I'm going to focus a little bit more on doing some inline applications because that is the most efficient to reduce your manufacturing costs. So with Analyx rollers, there are several different designs within the Analyx roller. And how many people have Analyx rollers in the business? Can anybody tell me what is the main Analyx roller? Believe it or not, it's the far left, 60-degree hex. That is a standard configuration. It's one of the most versatile rollers, Analyx rollers out there. But there's newer technologies, and when you cross over into different industries, whether you look at gravure or flexo, every industry has developed a little different design. And there has to be some cross-sharing between those communities of print. One of the latest ones is a channel wave. I'll term that as a channel wave. There's other branded names out there. But this style design will efficiently lower your coat weights without changing your performance attributes. So there's new technologies out there as long as you're open to innovate. So some considerations is what type of coatings are you going to run? What are the viscosities of the coating? What are the barrier properties that you need? What is your application speeds? What's your desired coat weight? All of these factor in, right? When we get into the tactile effects, which is where I see the market's trend to go, you have to get in with heavier BCMs, put down a higher GCM, or GSM, sorry, to get the features. Engraving angles, BCM, all of these technical terms are difficult to understand initially, but as you work with your vendors, right, the professionals in each discipline, and you bring them all together and collaborate, it's amazing what you can do. Usually with spot coatings, right, everybody is doing flood coatings. We talked about paper, and paper is just a flood coating, right, consistent, right? But that just gives you one dimension on a printed piece. If you use a drip-off effect, it could give you a differential, correct? But when you talk about spot coating, there's a couple different styles of plates out there. And the plates going on and off a press, I would prefer to use the one on the right, a metal back, because it's easy to register, it's sustainable for repeated runs. In the middle, that's a photopolymer plate that's used in the flexo industry more and more. It's more flexible, it can wrap around cylinders. So, looking at some of the coating effects, as I talked about, strike through, which is a conventional and UV-based system. You can use it with a conventional and aqueous base, and you'll get a different separation between the two chemistry systems. Drip-off effects. How many people have done drip-off effects in their manufacturing? Wow. 10, 20%? About 20% or so. So when you use drip-off effects, by varying the type of duct varnish you run, along with your gram per square meter coat weight, and your energy levels, you can create all different feels. So it's very intriguing. And that's where you get in line with the machine manufacturers, different companies, coating companies, Analux, bring them all together. You can create some very big movement effects too to launch a product off of the shelf. Okay? And those would be sustainable, because sustainability, if we remove a metallized polyester and create that dimension from an effect, now we have recyclability. We're taking the PE out, metallization. Okay? So let's look really quick for how do we do this. So on a printing press, if we wanted to take the effect and have the fish jump off the page, we would go ahead and we would print in the first 4 units of the press the basic picture, okay? We would cure that, and then in the background, and you see in the second photo from the right, the tannish or yellow area, okay? And you put a duct varnish down, okay? In a drip-off situation, that's UV. You cure it with a UV energy lamp, and then you flood coat it. By flood coating the background, or the whole thing, the background will actually create the drip-off effect where the fish, where it didn't have any varnish, it would highlight. And you can make that fish jump off the page. If you wanted a contrast, okay, a dull matte, you change the chemistry system over from a UV varnish to a conventional varnish, where it actually telescopes through and you have a matte and gloss background. So that's a real easy print process technique, and a lot of people are using that, okay? But what I really want to talk about even further, and the next generation of what I see in the market trend to eliminate and become more sustainable, are some specialty coatings. And the first one in the marketplace that a lot of people have endorsed and are picking up is soft touch. And soft touches come in many, many different varieties. They can be smooth, they can be silky, velvety, rubbery, okay? So all the base polymers in the coatings will change along with application weights. So as you use different application weights and combination with different types of chemistries, whether it be aqueous or UV, you get a completely different feel. And in the marketplace right now, aqueous coating, aqueous soft touch is one of the best because it lends itself for more post-press processes, such as foil stamping, gluability, or you can overprint it with a high gloss. And that'll create even a further separation, highlighting that product. So there's a lot of innovation. If we go to grits and sands, so from a smooth finish, you can get a very rough finish. And based upon the type of Analux you use and the particulate size that's generated, along with the Analux engraving, how it's dispersed, you can create a small sand effect, or you can be like you're walking on the beach, very coarse sand. So all of this is available for the printers to innovate. What I see in this marketplace is the use of glitters and pearls, and the gentleman from ITC highlighted glitter, gold glitter, and gold glitter is out there. It's very, very prominent in this part of the world. When you go to different parts of the world, silver is. There's some holographic. Anything that you can do with glitters, you can embed them into UV formulations, and you can create specialized security features. Another value-added thing that you could do to enhance your print. So the end game, and what I really want to say is, think creatively. There's so many options out there. There's so much technology. And we're here because there's a passion for print. So in closing, I'd like to say, think creatively. Partner with your supply vendors. As I've been in the business 34 years, that's the one thing I've always done, is I've always started and stopped and started and stopped and collaborated with all different people. And that's where you're going to learn, that's where you're going to innovate. And when you do that, when you start your innovation, document that. Document your processes so it's repeatable, okay? That goes back to your workforce development. Put great documentation in place, develop, and innovate. And when you do that, you can differentiate yourself and add value with the specialty effects and uplift and charge more. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Don. That was a lovely presentation. Thank you very much. I'd request Tejas and Saubhagya to please come up on stage to honor Don and to thank him. So a big round of applause for Don Newberry from ICP. They have a stall outside, and Don's here for a couple of days. So if you've got any confusions on the coatings, please speak to him. Thank you. Lovely. Thank you.